Okay, the top 10 countdown list continues of the most watched guests on London Real in 2017. Number 6 is Mr. Rory MacDonald, aka the Red King. I've been following this UFC fighter since Georges St-Pierre said that he was one of the most promising upcoming guys out there. He trained at TriStar Gym, and he was one of the first few guys that actually trained as an MMA fighter from the beginning. Whereas back in the day when old men like me used to watch the UFC, I went to UFC 37 here in 2002 in London. It was a wrestler that learned how to box. It was a striker who learned jiu-jitsu. Rory was one of the few guys, and the first guys, that started out learning everything. And he trained with Georges St-Pierre up at TriStar in Montreal, and this is back when George was unbeatable, and he really was the brand new face of a well-rounded MMA fighter. George taught himself to wrestle better than wrestlers. George had a jab that was better than any boxer. It was really amazing what he was doing, and he trained with Rory. And Rory had a good run in the UFC, some incredible brawls with Robbie Lawler that I think took a lot out of him and caused him to break his nose multiple times. But then he bounced to Bellator. And so I got to speak to him right before his inaugural fight in Bellator, where he was going against none other than Paul Daly, who I spoke to later as well. And Rory went in and just took care of business very, very quickly, did what he does best. And I got to sit down with Rory. He's known as not the American Psycho like the Canadian Psycho. He's just known as a man of very few words, and I was really happy that we got some great stuff out of him. So there you go, Rory MacDonald, a super cool guy, and also just a super in control guy. Knows what he wants, knows how to get it, and knows how to be a great MMA fighter. So here's to you, Rory. If you haven't yet watched the episode, I highly encourage it. We're gonna have him back for sure, and who knows, we might make a movie with Rory. You never know, right? So there you go. You know, I have a soft spot for MMA. I have a soft spot for fighters. I've been a huge fan of the UFC for, gosh, a long time now, 15, 16 years. Purple belt in jiu-jitsu. You know, I trained boxing. I got my nose broken in Thailand. You can see it goes one way. So I'm by no means a great fighter, although don't fuck with me. But I love the art of it, and I always love guys that really get out there and compete, and that's why I've had tons of fighters on, from Roger Gracie back in the day, to Paul Daly, to Rory MacDonald, to Kimbo Slice's son, to you name it, the list goes on and on. So lots of love for those guys. So there you go, Rory MacDonald, number 6. Who will be number 5, Brian? I don't know. Who's the one? Who's getting millions and millions of views on London Real? I'm gonna show you next. And again, leave me some comments below. Tell me the guests you wanna see for 2018. We're ramping up things. It's gonna be our biggest and best year ever. And so let me know who you wanna see on the show below, and any comments, I'll be reading them later. All right, peace, happy holidays.